I would say that the idea that the church is good is like this, you can use the word subjective, but I don't even know if that's the word. So the word is like, they could be using, in the Mormon church, it's all about how we're good. And so one thing these thoughts came to me from listening to Bill Reel. And because I was thinking about how good people are used by this evil, disgusting world to be the doctors. So like, you're a good person, and the image of a doctor is one of a caring person who helps people, and that's what attracts people. Well, also money. So you have those two things attracting people: money and they're helping people. And also there's this aura, this myth that doctors do good. And they don't. They harm more people than they help, with not knowing anything about how natural healing works, and by vaccinations. And I'm thinking, wow, like that's the same way the Mormon church works. The Mormon church works by the number one trick, which is that you're good, that the church is good, and that the people in it are good. And even sometimes, and within some percentage of a person's mind and spirit, it's that we're better, we're chosen. So that's why it's so dangerous, because in reality, there's a lot of crimes happening in the church. But the average person would never guess or never think that these things are happening, or just overlook them. And I've heard the term purity cult. So, it's like, oh, we're so good. Oh, the prophets are so good. Oh, your bishop is called of God. And it's like, well, if you have these kind of thoughts, then you're not going to think there's anything bad going on. I mean, that's just, that just makes sense, right? So that's an interesting, it's like the Book of Mormon. It's like the Book of Mormon could have been written by a human. It could have been written by a human. I mean, he used Isaiah. He talks about love. He talks about wars. Talks about things that already exist that you could make up. And Oliver Cowdery knew somebody who already wrote a book about ancient Israel being in America. So yeah, but most Mormons are going to believe what they've been taught, which is, oh, this is a divine book. It's no way could this be no way could this be fabricated. No way could just some guy write this book? Look how short it took him to write it. And it's like, yeah, so, and look at the story. Joseph Smith would never lie. So you get this, because of the Book of Mormon, it's like, whoa, yeah, this is definitely the true church. And it's these kind of things that happen. It happens in the church, it happens in the world as a whole. And it's like Owen Wilson's nose. And so, as Mormons, see, I just became an ex-Mormon like 4 months ago or whatever, but I still believe that Mormons are good, and I don't know why I think that. Like, I think I still have this belief, well, maybe Mormons are better than the rest of the world. Well, or maybe not even the rest of the world. Maybe they're just better than a lot of people, a lot of groups of people and whatever. It's like, why do I think that? Like, I guess I could think of it in terms of like, they try to be pure sexually. They try to be healthy. They try not to smoke and drink. They try to be good families. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe that's part of it. But I think part of it was like believing they were God's people. Here we are in Utah, and this is God's kingdom, and blah blah blah. It's like, I don't know. But as listening to, because it's like the same thing with doctors. It's the same thing with governments. A government is always promoting itself as good whenever it's talking about itself. So the government's never talking about how bad it is. And you could say, well, what about Republican, Democrat? And it's like, well, when Republicans and Democrats are talking, they're not talking about how bad the government is, how bad the nation is, and how badly the nation's governed. They're talking about the other side is doing some bad things. If the other side would just stop doing the bad things they're doing, then our country would run well. But they never get up and say, here's what's wrong with America that both sides are supporting. And that's messed up, man. I mean, I don't I don't know what else to say. And I almost feel like it's like, once we know what's wrong with the system, or that here's the problem. The fact that a senator or a government person is a government person, it means every day they're giving the inward and outward appearance that the nation is good, or at least that the government is good. And that's despicable. It's the same thing with religions and the jobs we do. I mean, there's nothing, what you do, that's your soul. Like, your soul is approving of that corporation or that job or whatever. And it's like, there's no way getting around that. If you have choice, if you don't have choice, if there's no other opportunity, then you could just say, well, I'm a slave. And I think I think the world would come to a great, I think everybody in the world would be a lot happier if we all just admitted we were slaves, because that's what we are. That, to me, admitting you're a slave is the end game. It's the point of enlightenment and the point of being smart. Yeah, so admitting we've been duped and that we believed lies and that we're living a lie, that we're being poisoned by the doctors. Watch out for the white suits. Watch out for the white suit. Watch out for the white suit. And the doctors are poisoning us. Walmart is poisonous. Walmart is poisoning the world, poisoning America. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so I was thinking about, so Bill Reel, he was talking to Bennett, and Bennett was saying, well, the church does so much good for saving souls that it outweighs all the bad, which is kind of funny in one sense, because it's saying, like, well, you can't prove that a soul is saved first off, so it's completely subjective and it's dependent on there being an afterlife, blah blah blah. But it's funny because it's like, well, who said that? Bennett and a lot of Mormons, they believe that. They believe, well, it just does so much good for you. And I understand where he's coming from. So what he's saying is eternal good. So the church does eternal good for people. So that's going to outweigh anything, but by far. But he doesn't understand that you could use that thinking of eternal good to hurt people in the present. Because if you have the power of eternal good, then, and you have authority, you can really hurt people now. Because you can have them do things that harm themselves and harm others. And we see that with bishops' interviews. We see that with missions. We see young people traumatized on missions and abused, and we see it with tithing. We see it with spouses. And it's just totally crazy. So anyway, having the authority of eternity, having the push or the weight of eternity in your hands, that gives you a lot of power over people. And it's a power that's abused. And if you really think about it, it's not a power you want. Like, you shouldn't want that kind of power over people. Power from eternity, it's just not something you should desire. It's the same thing with doctors. Doctors having power over people's lives. You shouldn't want that unless you absolutely know how to help them.